many of you, some of you may have coached, but when you go through funks in your season, it's incredibly hard to practice anyhow. Practices are hard. And then when you go with win after you lose, it's even harder for everybody. And so just to have guys come in with a little bit more bounce in their step before we go to Wisconsin is that, when they go to class, they're proud of themselves. They really, just played as hard as they could play today. And I said, I've seen some good guards come in here, and maybe it was just today. But those two guys, Webster and Watson, were as good a performance as I've seen come into this. So I think Valentine and Trice and Forbes did it last year to us, but so a couple of those things, you don't have answers for the Tim Hardaway step back three. I'm talking Tim Senior, that you can get it. Watson was tremendous, and then you can see what development does. The Webster, his freshman and sophomore years, he was not a factor that much on that team. A little bit more of a factor last year, right? But now all of a sudden, he's going to get buckets on anybody. I can really see now. I watched the Indiana game, I watched the Maryland game, and I said, okay, they scored all these points on those two really good teams, and but Maryland and Indiana might have had tough games. No, they didn't. This team is good. And what's really ironic is they lost their perceived best player, leading scorer, went to Syracuse, and this team right now, and they lost Morrow today, doesn't care. They're just playing for Tim, and really, he's a good friend of mine, and people in Nebraska should be very proud of them. You go back to the SMU game and all those things, that consistency is what we're both trying to get, for him. He's trying it every day, and that's what he's capable of. That's what he's capable of, and it was just, we needed him badly. You can see when we got in a little bit of foul trouble in the first half, how everything just stopped. And he needs to be aggressive. It's not often that you have a point guard that can really shoot like that. So I'm really proud of the way he shot and ran the offense. And then Zach as well with 7 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 bad turnovers, and I'd let him know about it, but 7 with great assists, and took the ball to basket, and 7 for 7 from the foul line. If you look at his stats, he's not a 90% guy from the foul line. So that took some real courage to go up there and just be perfect. Moments in that game.
How much of that's
we had played, we were shooting the heck out of it, we were playing well offensively, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And our timing was off and all these things, and that's where we said, okay, we're going to do this. We do not want to turn the ball over against the zone, and yet we do not want to get this extra foul on Derek or have him play Ole defense. So we did it. I've never done that before. I just felt that the urgency in that moment right there, that we had to do that to try and get any stops. We might have got a couple, but we didn't get a whole lot. We didn't stop them very often today. And we outscored them, and if that's the way it's got to be for a while we shore that up, that's what we're going to have to do.
Was some of that.
I was aware of that, and I encouraged it, and but I also had called one earlier just with me, and earlier in the year, just to say, how can we help? Just reaching out to what can we do better to get your confidence up there. And they basically told me yesterday, again, when I had that, I wanted to talk to them for 5 minutes after film. They said, Coach, we already got it. We're going to meet in the hotel too, and you don't have to do anything. Just keep coaching us. That was the message. So, but they only said that after I was prodding a little bit, because we practiced and we practiced well, but I could see we didn't have that bounce that you're going to need. This team is like you have their success last year in making the tournament can get in the way of the next year sometimes, and how you practice and how you approach it. And if you get punched in the mouth, to get back up is a little harder when you have success. But if you haven't any success, you can get back up better.
To have Derek and Zach kind of, see the results, I guess. That's what they talked about.
I hope it will go a long way how hard we play today of just what it takes to do everything you can. Because every time we punch them, they punch back. We punch them, they punch back. There's a lot of teams that I've coached, pretty soon they just give in and say, we ain't going to stop these guys. And all of a sudden we get sloppy. We executed really well down the stretch when we had to.
Right over here.
They've heard, that's the first time they ever heard that type of thing, and it's motivation certainly for them. But it's something that, our edge, I've talked about it, that the edge is, you go that, but we do not have a bunch of white collar kids. We have kids that are really, they're tough, they're hungry, they're trying to get better every day. It's not as natural to them. And they got to do that. And there's nothing small, and they switched every ball screen so we couldn't pick and pop him, right? And so then we tried to get it inside a couple times when you saw they switched, and we tried to get it in, but it wasn't anything that, we're still playing off action. I want to get the ball to Mo, but it's, when you have 5 guys out there that you all believe in, we were sort of playing off their action because they were changing things up quite a bit. But I knew that he was getting a lot of points from the pick and pop. We knew that was no longer going to work. So we ended up just, once they went small.
To see him embrace though the shots and take.
Oh, yeah, that's the
a
thing.
big step there, right?
You know, what I keep, talking about all the time, am I ready to give him that pit snoggle, hey, go, right? Because his numbers are so good. Some guys, when you dial up a play, they aren't as good at it. When you just let them play out of freedom, right, they're much better. Mo, I dialed up every one of those threes in the second half. In the threes in the second half. And that was one of the few, we've done it a few times. We did it against Maryland the other day, and he responded to it, so it could set a whole new opening of the court for us. You talk about Purdue all the time. You think about Purdue, it's a great offense, right? And no, you think about Purdue, you think about defense. And Iowa put, 90 on them the other night? I know it was an overtime game. That just didn't used to happen. It didn't happen. And so that's what I'm seeing right now. And I feel really bad when I see these bad field goal percentage ones. But I also look at Kansas gives up 80 or 90, and Duke gives up 80 or 90. It's part of this 32nd of this downhill play. You know, great coaches in the NBA, great players in the NBA. They're giving up 100. It is really difficult to defend really good players, and I think those 2 guys were really good, and then everybody plays off them. But it is a trend right now, and if this is what people wanted to see, that's what they're getting.
Does it change the way, I guess, that you coach then? I mean, knowing that you have to adjust to that, or you feel like you can just
No,
stick to what
we're
did?
basically gonna adapt to whatever we see in the game, and that's why you see the 91 points today. My grandson, Johnny today, when I saw him, I said, did we win? He said, yes, you won 91 to 58. He had those two numbers mixed up a little bit. I wish it was 58. That's an uglier way to win. Or it's not ugly. It's uglier to try and win these games 46-43, right? And we've had some of those games in the past. And you're trying to outscore people. Now you still got to defend better, and we know it. And what can we do? I don't think we're going to say, okay, the heck with it. We're Paul Westhead, and we are now going after it and just going to go. We don't care if you score. We're going to score fast. We're not doing that, right? We don't have that type of depth or that type of players right now to just go and do that. We got to see finding these little steps of trying to get better. And ever since we played, we had a 4-day break for the holiday. We've played 6 games now in these. We've got a 6 game at Wisconsin, right? Our kids are tired, and it's hard to change your philosophy when you're trying to just get rest.